Okay, we're ready to start on the firewall, and I wanted to show you where I am in the firewall build. This is the new firewall, and I'm not going to install the heater core, which goes like right here. I'm not going to install that. That's why I got a blank firewall. And there is, when you purchase it, it says that the frame brackets are a little off on the GTO from the Chevelle, but I had the frame, that's why the frame is there. I had the frame already up against it, lining everything up, everything fit. The only problem is this one here, I think it's because of the transmission tunnel, the repop, it is not centered properly, and I had to push it in, bang these seams out right here, and to get it to go in so it matches the firewall. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. But anyway, I wanted to let you know this side here, which is the passenger side, was a little off on the rubber mount right there and right there. So that I wanted to let you know that. The other thing is, other than that, it fits pretty well. I don't have any other problems with it. I noticed that there is a hole, let me show you, missing right here. It is between this hole and that hole where this is the area where the wiring harness connects to. That area right there, but it's missing this hole right here, and I'll show you over here. If you look, this is the old firewall. Okay, so you have to put that hole there, and that hole there is only for, if I'm not mistaken, vacuum lines. So I referenced back some pictures that I had, and I have some hoses going through here, vacuum lines that either went to my windshield wiper, or the other hoses that I have were just vacuum lines to move some different situations there. But other than that, everything lines up well, matches pretty much the same. The other one that I have is this hole here. I can't remember what that is. This hole here is missing from the new firewall. Even though, see, this shows it here, it's in direct line with that right there. And what happens over here, it's not. It's actually over to the left. You see that? But I think, if I'm not mistaken, that line is for a hose. The heater hose, the heater core hoses are right here. Let me see if I can get that better. Right there. Those are there. Those are, you know, again, it's custom, so I'm doing that differently. I am ready to start drilling the firewall right here, all along that area, coming up, and that's it. So it's ready. It's ready to be secured. So let's get started. I wanted to show you, I had to bolt the firewall to the floor pan right there. So you see all those screw holes, that's holding it down. And if you look right here, I actually cut the floor because I'm going to be installing a 6-speed transmission. So I wanted to cut the floor because I have to spread it so it doesn't hit the bell housing of the transmission. But those are all my bolts holding, the screws rather, holding everything together. And I knocked out, you can't see the hammer marks, but right over there, I had to hammer some of the firewall to get it to come down to match the existing floor pan. It's off about, I would say, 2 inches. So you need to do some hammering and pulling and stretching to get that to come back to meet. So that's why I have all those screws. I just wanted to show you that. So in order to remove the firewall, I would have to remove all those screws, and I will continue working on that. I am actually getting ready to start drilling holes so I can spot weld. All right, see you soon. Okay, I took all the screws holding the firewall to the floor pan. I went through the problems I have with that. Now, what I'm going to do is, the only thing holding this firewall up is this clamp here and this clamp here. Then I'm going to drop it down. So let's see how that works out. Okay, that's pretty much it. And let me bring you close so I can show you this. Well, right here, I wanted to give you a close-up. Right here, right on this hump, the metal was all wrinkled up. I don't know if you can tell in the picture here. You see how it was all wrinkly here? There was a couple big ones when I purchased it. So in order for it to fit the tunnel right here of the floor pan, I know it's a bad shot right here. I needed it to go in. So in order to get at least an inch or two more, I had to bang this out. As you can see, it's all, let me see if I get a better shot of it. It's really crimpled right here. There you go. That's a good shot. You see how crimpled it is? There was this one here was really bad, and then this one here, which went all the way across, was really bad. So I hammered and dollied that out, and it actually gave me another at least ½ inch over here. So it actually made the metal come out further. So other than that, it's good. So even the firewall with the water core, the heater core right here, had the same issue. So they actually sent me out a different one, and the same problem. So I had to send it back. So that's one of the downfalls of getting a firewall. Now, the other thing I need to do is, if you could see, right in there, I got a lot of welding to do, and that's weld-through primer. If anyone is wondering why that's painted, it's considered weld-through primer, and that right there is where everything gets welded together. And let me show you the other side over here, and that same over here. Now, show you, in order to get this to the spot welds behind the firewall, you had to remove the bracket that holds the fender, which is this right here. So it went just like that. So in order to get access to the back side of this, and it was so rotted away that it was blowing apart, and that's why I have those holes in the firewall. And then I wanted to show you on this side here, this is actually a better example. As you can see, this piece here went like that. So in order to get to the welds behind it from factory, you had to remove it. So here are the spot welds that are on the underside of this bracket for the fender. So just so you're aware of that situation there, and hopefully that helps you if you go to remove your firewall without damaging too many things. So I'm going to bring this firewall back up, mark it, so I can drill it to start spot welding. Okay, I marked everything. I wanted to show you, these are my marks. This is where I'm going to drill, and I'm going to weld the firewall back in place. So I am measuring about an inch apart, 1.5 inches apart, spot welds all along here. So that's where that's going to be drilled, but right going all the way down over here. The other thing is, this is where the wiper motor goes right there. That's all marked off, and that's all marked off there. So that's ready to get drilled. The other thing is, right here, I wanted to show you, this has to get drilled right here and marked. I didn't do that yet because what happens is I can't drill because, I'm sorry, I can't weld right here. There's not enough room over here. So what happens now is once I install the firewall, hold on a second. I'm gonna have to drill through here, which is the lower cowl panel, drill through here so I could weld from this side instead of welding from this side where the bracket is, because there's no room to get in there to weld. So I'm gonna have to do it from the back side over here. The other thing I'm gonna do is, as you can see, all my holes right here from the floor pan, I am going to drill in between each screw so I can spot weld all up in through the channel here and come down and around so I could re-secure everything. But before I do all that, you can't forget, if you replaced your floor pan, a whole floor pan in your Chevelle or GTO or 442, Oldsmobile, Le Mans, whatever A-body car you have, right here, I did not weld yet because this is where the floor pan comes through with the metal bracket. I don't know what that's called, but it's part of the floor pan. So you have to drill here. I'm sorry, weld here, and then weld down here as well. So what I'm going to do is, before I install anything, is I'm going to fill these up, weld them, and grind them smooth, and also on this side too. So as you can see, they're right there. They're ready for me to weld. And then I'm going to be doing everything from the opposite side. Again, on this side here, I am going to be welding on the other side and securing that. So I'm going to start drilling, and I'll catch up to you soon. I drilled these right here, all up in here around the windshield wiper motor. I'm starting to drill this area here. This is tedious stuff, so I didn't want to bore you guys in doing this. So basically that's all I'm doing. When I'm all done, I'll turn the camera back on and let you know how far I am. So I'll be back. Right here, see, everything's drilled. Right through here. And everything's drilled here around the windshield wiper, around the bracket. I drilled through the bracket just to give me a lot of extra strength. Because I can't get behind here to spot weld. So I went through the bracket. Well, I'm going to weld through there, down along the side here, and I'm going to take you inside. I drilled all the holes right there through the floor pan. I'm going to be doing some welding through there. Every other hole I drilled, and then I could secure it with my screws, and then I'm going to bolt this in place just to give it a final fit and double check, and then I will take it back off and do my welding on the floor pan over there, which I mentioned, where those 5 holes are that needed to be welded in there. So I'm going to do that. And again, that gray is zinc plated weld through primer, so I don't like using that. I've come to realize it causes a lot of splatter when I weld. It doesn't really give me a nice clean weld. So back in the day, they never used any of that stuff anyway, so if I seam seal it really well, I should be fine. But for now, I'm gonna turn the camera off and get back to you when I'm finally fitting everything in, double check it, and then go from there. Okay, the firewall is back in. Just checking for final fitment. Everything here lining up really nicely. I didn't miss any spot welds, so it's just a matter of going in there and spot welding everything, metal on metal. Nice touching here. Everything's really nice right along. Let me show you this side. Right there, there's perfect right there. I made this hope mark here so you know there's a hole on the back side where I drilled through, and I didn't want to re-drill it again, so I'm just gonna, let me turn the camera around here. Right there. You see it right there? So I'm just going to weld right through there, grind it smooth. And then on this side, everything, all my spot welds line up, so I'm ready to go ahead and start welding. But before I do that, I gotta weld the floor pan in like I said. And once I do that, then I could reinstall it and start welding. This up here is where the cowl panel was, right here. So I removed this because I'm going to be replacing it. So I'm going to be drilling through the existing holes here that I used to remove it. So I'm going to be welding through there. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Okay, I'm ready to weld these 5 holes that I drilled when I installed the floor pan. So I just want to make sure that's all taken care of before I start installing the firewall. So. Alright, I just did that. Again, it's just repetitive welding, so I'm not going to bore you with the welding, but that's pretty much what I'm doing. So when I'm all done, I'm going to clean it up, show you guys, and then we'll continue on. Any questions, leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're doing your own project and you need some advice, maybe I can help you. Maybe you can help me, give me some advice. So if we go back and forth, we could help each other. So leave a comment below. Thanks. Okay. I just got done finished welding and grinding those spot welds that were in here. I finished the passenger side a little bit ago. Just wanted to record that. That's all done. So now the only thing I have to do pretty much is reinstall the firewall and make sure it's lined up properly, reusing the same screw holes that I have here, making sure that fits right, and then I'm going to start my tack welding. So I installed the firewall, I prepped everything, I drilled, if you look here, I drilled all my spot welds out, so all I have to do is fill in my spot welds. But before I do that, I am going to lift the frame up and reinstall it just to make sure that all my body mounts are in position to where everything's going to line up. Okay, I raised the frame up into the body. So now the only thing I got to do is make sure that it is level from left to right and front to back. So when you do this, hopefully this helps you in your build, but I had to drop the frame to remove the floor pan and everything else, so I put this frame up and down about 10 times already. It's not really that difficult. If you have an extra hand, it makes it so much easier. I just wanted to show you. This is where I wanted everything to line up before I start welding. This is the bushing, and this is the bolt for the bushing that comes through the frame. I have them finger tight, so before I start welding, I'm going to torque them down to 35 foot-pounds, and then I am going to start welding to make sure there's no movement when I weld. I'm going to bounce around a lot, so the heat's going to be dispersed. Let me show you the back. Okay, we are at the back here, and I still have my jack under there, as you can see, and my bench that I made to support the frame. Again, I have to make this level from left to right and front to back. Yeah, I just got done making sure the frame is level from left to right and front to back. The only thing now that I have to do is I'm going to install, this is the old cowl panel, so I'm going to put this in, line this up, and clamp it to the inner cowl and the firewall, just to make sure my lines line up. I'm going to make sure all my old welds line up. It's a little tricky to work with something like this because the frame is in your way, but I wanted to make sure nothing shifts. Everything is tightened down. Everything is ready the way it was when I started taking it apart. You're going to have some problems, I understand that, but if you're going to make sure everything here lines up properly, and then I'm going to clamp everything and make sure everything lines up. So give me a second. What's most important is you keep and try to save as much of the original panel that you have so you could reference the new panel. Like I said, right here, I'm going to bring you closer in a minute. I want to show you. There is between the firewall and the inner cowl and the grill cowl panel, when I line it up to the old spot welds, there's probably a 1/4 inch difference between this cowl and the firewall. So I'm going to bring you over here to show you how I line everything up. Then I'm going to clamp it, then I'm going to tack it, and my welding process will begin. Let me turn the camera off and bring you closer. Okay, this is where I wanted to show you. I'm trying to line up the old, let me see if I could focus in there, right there. I'm trying to line up the old spot welds right there. That lines up there. Everything here lines up, and I am going to clamp it in place so it doesn't move when I weld. But I wanted to show you the difference between, you see there where my finger is, there's about a 1/4 inch difference from the new firewall and the old cowl panel. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because you need to save the original parts, because if I didn't know, I would have brought this whole cowl panel way forward so it touches here. and I would have forced it and I would have played with it until it got close, but that's not the right thing to do because it's not going to line up. So I'm going to line up all my spot welds to the original inner cowl, which is right there, and once I clamp it all up, it's going to be where it was from factory. So I'm going to show you once I clamp everything all up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I clamped everything down. Just wanted to make sure everything was lined up. I put a screw over here. See that screw right there? Put a screw in there so it keeps it from moving. All my old spot welds lined up, so everything looks good. Up in here, all my spot welds line up. So I know that this was in the correct position when I weld my firewall. Okay, I have a bunch of clamps. I'm going to be removing them as I weld, but the reason why I clamped it down is so it doesn't move, obviously, but right here is where I do my initial spot welds, here, around this bracket for the fender. Make sure that's in the proper location, line everything up that way. And then once I start welding this to the bracket here, the firewall to the bracket, I'm going to weld all along the windshield wiper motor area and then move over to there. But I'm going to bounce around, so I just wanted to show you what I did and how I did it. So if you have any questions, leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions on how I did this, feel free to contact me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. This is going to be an ongoing project, as my subscribers know. After I finish this firewall, I am going to start doing the cowl panel. And then after the cowl panel, I'm going to do the upper dash. You can't buy that piece. That being said, there's a channel that I bought. It's out of it's for a 68 Chevelle, and you have to do a lot of modification and fit that in, a lot of welding. I'd like to thank all my new subscribers, and hopefully if you haven't subscribed, you will subscribe. And thanks again, I really appreciate it. Let's get going. I put some spot welds all up in here. I did spot welding along here. I got to take some of these screws out that I have holding it, but for now it's actually ready. All right, I'm going to take this out. Two over here, and I have a couple over there. All right. I am going to bring you over here so you can see what I did. Okay, all the screws are out. I just got to spot weld these in here. I'm going to bring you in and I'm going to show you what it looks like up close. These are my spot welds up close. I haven't cleaned them up yet. They're still a little warm. All up in here, I got to grind and clean that, and if I missed any spot weld, I would go back in there and tighten it up. Other than that, everything looks pretty good. So just wanted to show you that. I haven't welded down here yet. That's going to be more difficult because I have to actually remove the frame again to get in there to really clean it up and do the correct job. But I cut the floor pan and trunk tunnel, the transmission tunnel, because I am going to be installing a 6-speed transmission in there. So that's going to take some modification. So I just wanted to show you this. And again, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video.